When the spotlight hit my face, I couldn't see anyone in the audience. The glare washed over my cheeks and poured into my eyes, making everything beyond the edge of the stage blur. My hands shook as I reached for the mic, my slides flickered nervously behind me, animations of hands and gears pivoting metal wrists, joints moving smoothly. The clicker felt sticky, my pulse a steady thump in my fingers. I want to put a high-functioning, low-cost robotic hand in every classroom, I started, voice a notch too high. I blinked at what I thought were faces, but the front row stared, unmoved. Let's empower kids to believe they can build, code, and touch the future. A cough cut through the silence. I forced myself to exhale, remembering my rehearsals in the cramped apartment above my uncle's auto shop. My body ached from sleepless nights, but I pressed on, demonstrating how my prototype, clunky, cheap, beautiful, could mimic a pianist's movements, a painter's flick of wrist, a sign language alphabet. The hand on the table ticked and whirred. It managed a shaky, three-fingered wave. Someone snickered. I heard it, crisp and unmistakable. Questions followed, short and cold. "What's your go-to-market?" asked a woman with an expensive suit and a snippet of annoyance in her tone. "What differentiates you from eye grasp or soft motion?" another asked. I tried to answer, tripping over price points and hardware specs. As the timer neared zero, I grasped for my closing line. "I know it looks simple now," I said, voice trembling, "but a real child could use this. A real classroom. I'm not from MIT or Stanford, but I believe." The moderator cut me off. "Thank you, Adrian. Next company, please." I packed up my plastic servo motors and wires in front of a wall of blank faces. The applause, forced and fleeting, died before it reached me. I stuffed the prototype into my backpack and stumbled past the other startups, each one sleeker, shinier, their badges smudged with the handshakes of the right people. Outside, Los Angeles' sun reeled against the glass lobby. My skin prickled. All I could think about was Boyle Heights and the way my brother Diego's voice used to echo off the kitchen walls, always the same line: "Bro, you need a plan B. You're 26 and still building toy robots." The day after the pitch, I called my mom. She picked up, hesitating, the sound of novellas humming in the background. "How did it go, Mijo?" I swallowed. "Not great." "You should have seen their faces." I heard her sigh, tired but soft. "You're too smart for this," she said quietly. "You could work with Diego in HVAC, or go finish that degree, this robot thing. Nady Hayes Esses Kosas. Nobody does that." I heard the shame in her words, but what hurt more was the protective love in them. I was the oldest son. I should have made her proud by now, or at least paid the phone bill without asking her to wait one more week. I caught the metro home, prototype clattering at my side with every bump. Kids in wrinkled uniforms boarded at Soto, crowding out my solitude with their laughter. I clutched my backpack tighter, remembering the sting of Diego's laughter when he saw my workbench. Wow, still playing with dolls. After the flop, my world shrank. The little cash I had left went to cheap potatoes and the warehouse sublet, wires tangling into my bedsheets every night. I picked up extra shifts unloading produce at dawn, my back aching from crates of oranges bleeding sticky pulp. At night I soldered and coded, obsessively tweaking finger joints that never quite lined up, a human motion caught in glitchy repetition. But there was a strange clarity in those months, a hollow grief for what my life was supposed to be, someone respectable, someone stable. I pictured Diego's new condo, the photos of his twins on Instagram. My mom smiling next to him, the caption, "Familia Orgullosa." Still, the clarity crept in when the rest of the world fell away. Alone, hunched under a lamp that buzzed like a thirsty insect, I stopped caring if anyone believed me. I thought about the shy kids at my high school, how they flinched at the word engineer because they'd never met one. I thought of the girl with the prosthetic arm who disappeared after freshman year, the rumors that she couldn't keep up. The way the guidance counselor had handed me a pamphlet on mechanic training even after I scored highest in maths. I remembered the hand I wanted to build, not a perfect thing, but a thing that learned with you, simple enough to open doors, hold a pencil, wave hello. I started posting videos of my hacks online. The first one, a robotic finger sketching the word hello in a kid's scrawl, got 3 likes. But 2 weeks later, a teacher from South LA messaged me, "Could we try this in our classroom?" I carried my best prototype across town, nervous sweat dripping down my back. When I showed the kids how the hand moved, a boy beamed. He traced his own fingers against the cold plastic, eyes wide with disbelief. He asked, "Could it high-five me?" I rigged the servos, set the code, and watched as the boy grinned and slapped its palm. That tiny, sincere moment chipped away at the old grief. No applause, no seed money, just a kid who saw himself in what I'd built. I kept tweaking, posted more, bits of cash trickled in through small orders. A school in El Monte, a STEM club in Compton. Diego texted me one night, saw your robot arm on YouTube, still think you're nuts. I know, I replied, but some kids like it. He didn't answer, sleep became rare. The world outside my little room felt like a place I'd failed to join. Family events blurred by, Diego's twin's birthday, my cousin Mariana's quinceanera, I was always working. In reality, I just couldn't stand the awkward pats on the back, the way Aunt Nina would say, still inventing, huh? Myra to-dos los inventors en las películas. The breakthrough came quietly after midnight. I'd been hunching over code, debugging for hours, when the hand's grip matched the pressure of my own. I squeezed and it squeezed back, a handshake at last full of subtlety and real strength. That night I barely slept. I reached out to small businesses, after-school clubs, anyone who would listen. Orders stuttered in, 20 kits, then 50. By the end of the year, 1,000 hands shipped out of my bedroom, bound for California, Arizona, Nevada. Schools started tagging me on Instagram, kids holding hands that moved like theirs. An ed-tech company reached out. They wanted to license my designs. My bank balance finally inched above zero, then started to grow. I moved into a real apartment, still in Boyle Heights, but now with windows that let in sunlight. In the evenings, I'd walk past Diego's work site and sometimes I'd wave, not knowing if he'd even see me across the busy lanes. I never forgot the silence of my flop in that mirrored downtown building, the blank stares, the snicker, the sharp-edged questions. I felt their judgments long after, a scar that tightened every time I woke to a new day that might still be a dead end. Yet somewhere along the way, grief faded, clarity stayed. A year later, my name was on a grant, my photo cropped into a press release. The same street that had doubted me now featured my workshops at the Boys and Girls Club. At night, kids toted home cardboard boxes marked Mendez Robotics. I stood in the shadows, shirt sweat-soaked, as a father knelt beside his daughter and whispered, "Mija, you built this." Invitations started coming, real ones. First a panel at Cal State LA, then a STEM night fundraiser at my old high school. Each time my throat tightened, memories of laughter and skepticism pressing like hands against my chest. The real homecoming came the summer I was invited to headline the Community Tech Festival back in Boyle Heights. The organizers plastered my story on the flyers. Local inventor Adrian Mendez brings robotics home. My mom called, voice trembling with pride and something like disbelief. La gente está hablando, they say you're famous now. Even Diego says you did something, you really did. I smiled, thanking her, but my hands shook as I hung up. In my mind's eye, I saw that investor room again, all its cold logic and unblinking stares. The streets of my childhood felt smaller and bigger at the same time. On the day of the festival, the sky burned blue and cloudless. Kids in matching t-shirts zipped between food trucks and booths selling palleters. A stage jutted over the asphalt where I'd skinned knees as a boy. I glanced behind the curtain. Diego stood with his arms folded, twins perched on his hips, both squirming at the leash of their newness. My mom, pressed into a flowered dress, clutched her purse. Aunt Nina, lips pursed, peered over her sunglasses. I recognized neighbors, old classmates, even the math teacher who once snorted when I refused to skip shop in favor of remedial reading. I ran my thumb along the new prototype Sleeker with soft blue silicone skin. This one responded to voice commands, could grasp a pencil, gently hold an egg. My team, a mix of 20-somethings from the neighborhood, mingled with the crowd explaining the controls. When it was my turn to speak, my legs felt wrapped in cement. I heard my shoes scrape the plywood, the stomp of my pulse in my ears, but also the festival's life. Melting ice, laughter, mariachi in the distance. I lifted the mic, waited for the world to hush. "I never thought I'd stand here," I said. My voice was low but steady. "When I started building robots, people called me loco. My family worried, some of you, honestly." I looked directly at Diego, at Aunt Nina, at the old math teacher, told me to quit. Soft, embarrassed laughter rippled out. "That's okay. Because I built this hand for young people like I was, curious, maybe stubborn, maybe a little desperate, not sure if anyone believed in me but willing to try anyway." I swallowed it. The grief quivered, but the clarity, the fierce, forgiving clarity, smoothed my next breath. "I want you to see what our kids can do with just a little belief and a lot of hard work. So I'm not going to talk anymore, I'm going to show you." I beckoned one of the volunteers, Rosa, a teenager who'd built a robot last summer and now taught coding to the younger kids. She approached, hands shaking. I handed her the newest prototype. "Rosa, take it away," I said. She gave a nervous smile. "Can I have a helper?" she called out. The twins darted forward, Diego's boys bouncing in Spider-Man shirts. Rosa placed a cup of water in the robot's palm and gave the voice command, "Hold delicate." The fingers closed just enough. The hand lifted the cup, rotated it, then placed it on the table. One twin reached out and the robot gave him a dramatically slow high five, fingers curling as they met his palm. The other twin shrieked with joy and hugged the plastic wrist. The crowd gasped and then cheered. Phones whipped out, flashes popped. Diego, usually so composed, grinned so wide it split his face. Mom clasped her hands, her eyes foggy with tears. I turned so they wouldn't see me trembling. For the next hour, parents and children thronged the booth, each one wanting to test the hand to ask, "Did you make this here from scratch?" I watched as old neighbors who teased me, family members who despaired of me, now jostled to be in the photos, voices buzzing with pride. Late in the afternoon, after the stage had been cleared and the music faded off into the city's endless hum, Diego sauntered over. He wore the same work boots, his shirt stained with someone else's paint, but his eyes were different. He didn't speak at first, just looked at the robot hand, then at the twins, then at me. "I was wrong," he said simply. He let the words hang, no melodrama, just fact. "When you left, I thought you'd come crawling back. You didn't. You made a thing that matters, not just for you, for all these kids." His voice trailed off. He shook my hand, my real one, with a grip that said more than any apology. "You staying for dinner?" he asked, the invitation as old as childhood. "Yeah," I said, "I'll come home." As dusk settled, I watched my family gather, laughter replacing the old, bitter silence. My mom reached out and patted my cheek, pride and relief in her weary eyes. Diego's wife spooned rice onto my plate, and the twins showed me how to program their new robot friend to do the thumbs up. I remembered then the echo of those early days, the grief of rejection, the mockery that had gnawed at my insides. I saw now how those doubts had carved out space in me, room for a fiercer light. The struggle had stripped me down to the bone, left only what mattered. My path home was never about applause or headlines or even forgiveness. It was about that moment, eating rice at my mother's table, voices warm around me, the hand I'd built resting between us as one of the family. And for the first time in years, I felt whole.